Hello, and welcome to the Stupid Sequels podcast, where we find truly terrible movies and give them all the attention they don't deserve. Each episode will discuss exactly what made such a horrible sequel, from casting to budget to just plain bad writing. While we all love a great movie, there's something just a little more fun about watching a seriously stupid sequel. Now, while there are plenty of awful sequels out there, we have a few guidelines about the kind of movies we'll be reviewing here. We're talking about direct-to-video, made-for-TV, never appeared in a theater sequels. The ones the studios gave up on before they even started. This week, my guest is Danny Chavez, and we will be discussing The Sandlot 2, the sequel to The Sandlot. How you doing?
I'm good.
Are you sure?
Yes.
You're not going to have a heart attack?
Hopefully not.
Or a stroke?
I hope not.
Your dog's not going to die?
No, we don't have dogs at the house yet. We can't take care of ourselves yet.
I am razzing the shit out of this one. Because this is our 6th try at recording this motherfucking episode.
Wait, it's not 6? I thought it was
6.
Oh. Well, yeah,
Because there were the initial 3 cancellations, one of which I will take responsibility for. And then you canceled last Saturday, and then you canceled yesterday.
Yeah.
So this is number 6.
You know, the important thing, though, is that
He's here.
I made it. So, now, really glad you invited me to do this. I definitely want to support. So.
Yes, after getting Sherwin on to listen, we finally, other people at work aren't as terrified to come on the podcast now.
No, but this is my first time on the microphone, but you know what? Let's do it.
You're going to kill it.
Fun. Hopefully.
You got it. All right, so just for comparison, the original got a 56% on Rotten Tomatoes, which I feel is really low.
What's like the usual standard, or what would you say is like a rating that usually considers a movie to be a good one?
I mean, above 80. I mean, it got an 89% on audience reviews, but critically it got a 56, which I'm like, I don't know. I think of Sandlot as like the classic the classic baseball movie.
Right.
So it just seems insane that it would get such a low rating.
Yeah. I think with you as well, because you have a lot more in-depth of, you dissect the movies a lot more.
Yeah.
My analysis on it is I didn't look at the ratings, but I just really looked at the acting between both the movies and comparing them, but
and that's tricky in any movie that features a lot of kid actors.
Yeah,
the acting is always going to be a little bit shaky. I mean, the sequel got a 40%, so we're looking at really only a 16% difference between the two, which I feel like between the two movies, like
it should have been more.
It should have been a lot more.
For sure.
Yeah. So the original came out in 1993 with a budget of $7 million, and it made 33.8 at the box office. And then the sequel came out in 2005, but they were like ready to make it right away afterwards.
They jumped right into it.
Yeah, they were really ready to jump into it, but it was just a matter of everyone's schedules. But the only people who are shared between the two films are James Earl Jones and the director David Mickey Evans, who's also the writer.
Okay.
He did some of the Beethoven sequels. He did the Ace Ventura Jr. sequel. He's He's gonna be big on our podcast. I can feel it.
That's good. Well, educate me on him a little bit.
Yeah. And I mean, in the original, we have Karen Allen is Small's mom, and she's in Raiders of the Lost Ark. And we have Dennis Leary as the stepdad, and then Marley Shelton as Wendy Peppercorn. But really, like, no one else of note came out of that movie.
No, I mean, out of the ones that really stood out. Yeah, I kind of agree there. I was really fond of the characters in the original a lot more. Yeah,
definitely. Can you just get a little bit closer up on it?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, the first one felt a lot more genuine, for lack of a better word. Like, it just felt like, oh, this is just kids playing baseball and trying to have the best summer of their lives. And the second one is like, we're doing a sports movie. Look at these kids. Look at their hijinks. Like, it just felt very formulaic.
No, I definitely felt like it was their goal was just to, hey, let's just redo.
Let's do it again.
Do it again. And I really wanted something a little bit significantly different in regards to the plot.
Yeah, and to even have the semi-main character of the second one be Smalls' little brother, we're assuming.
Right.
There's like no reference to the other kids except for like, oh no, there was a beast last time.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then it just shifts on really quickly. Like, just make it a different Sandlot in a different town, and
different. The only thing I did like that they did, and I was going to bring this up later, but the fact that they threw in a girl now, so they tie in the idea of a kind of a little love story, right? Because that's always something that's like people like to see in movies, and it just catches people's attention.
A very a League of Their Own moment of like, oh, girls can't play baseball.
No, absolutely.
So in the original movie, they had Benny and Smalls, the actors who played them, meet up a couple weeks before the other kids did, so they could really bond and have a close friendship. And the other kids, when they met them, thought they had actually been friends for years by the time they met. James Earl Jones hates baseball. Fun fact.
Really?
For being in one of the biggest baseball movies of all time. He hates baseball. He's like... And it was insanely hot the entire time they were shooting this movie. Like, kids passed out on the field all the time.
Where was this filmed?
It was filmed in 1993.
No, but where?
I can't remember. The only day it was below 90 degrees was the day they shot at the pool, and it was 56 degrees that day.
Oh, jeez.
So if you look, all the kids are shivering the shit in the pool. They're so cold. So, getting into the sequel, it's very formulaic of like, well, this is what worked in the last one, so let's just do that again.
There wasn't, I don't know, I had that initial feeling just from the first 10 minutes of it. I was just like, this is exactly like, did they just maybe make a couple changes to like the script a little bit?
Like, this was the first draft script, and they just like put it through as another movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
But they do like previously on the Sandlot, like they're like, oh, this is the story of an alliance of kids fighting for the great ball, and how a kid with magic shoes. I'm like, were you guys watching a different movie?
I thought that was corny. I thought like the initial like recap on the let's give a little recap of what happened in the first Sandlot. I'm like, no, look, if you watch the second Sandlot, you're probably already watched the first one. Like, you don't know, but like,
and especially I watched them back to back. So right. You really felt it. But the language they use is just like the magic suit and the alliance of children and the battle for the future. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, the movie was not that grandiose.
Well, was it the is it Johnny Small? Not Johnny Smalls. What's the name of the Smalls in the first Sandlot?
I just know him as Smalls.
I thought that he's the one narrating in Sandlot 2.
Yeah, he's the one narrating in Sandlot 1, but no, I think it's his brother narrating in Sandlot 2.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And I think they had to make the brother as young as he was, because it was like, well, there was no brother around last movie, so...
Yeah. I actually think this entire cast was probably 1 or 2 years younger in regards to average age.
They seemed a lot younger.
Yeah, they were definitely getting to me a little bit. I was like, as far as the theatrical side of the thing, you know, like you coming from with having a background in theater, you're a lot more kind of critical of it. I only did it for 2 years, but still, like, I was kind of like, oh, these lines could be a lot more, these transitions, all this stuff, you know. But
the humor just seemed a lot younger too. Like, it was a lot more like slapstick. So this is 10 years later from the original, so it's taking place in 1972. And so Johnny Smalls is the little brother. So he and David Vincent Durango are the main two. They're the Benny
Best
and the
friends.
Smalls of the last one. But Johnny hates baseball. He hates it.
He likes rockets.
He likes rockets are his life.
I thought that was cool. Like, it made me kind of want to go back in time and be like, I wish I would have maybe did things with rockets too. I don't know, like, had a little hobby like that.
I was almost interested they didn't make the movie happen in 1969 and just make it like a moon landing. Like, oh, this kid saw the moon landing fever, and it's like, nope, 1972, just right along. And that was just so they could put the one black kid in like literally the 1970s Halloween costume.
Oh, that guy's cool.
Just the brown fringed afro cool. Headband. He's like, it's the 70s if you couldn't tell. I'm like, I could. Thank you, one black kid.
His opening line was when he sees was it Heather?
I think so.
When he sees her and says something like, "Wow, she's like," he has this line that he says, but he just says it with like a little bit of swagger, and I was like, I like him.
He's like, she's one groovy lady. I'm like, oh god. Like, so he Johnny is the summer between 6th and 7th grade, and he's like, it's the decade when you decide to start down the path of greatness or hate yourself. I'm like, aren't we all there all the time?
Every day.
So he's like kind of introducing the other characters. He's introducing David, and he's like, David was really fast. And in case you didn't know David was really fast, if he makes any movement, they do like a cartoon whoosh noise.
Oh my god.
Because the girl drops her papers, and he like bends down and picks them up, and she's like, wow, you're really fast.
Well,
I'm like...
There was a lot of unnecessary like slow motion, like let's like this huge intent. Let's make this look really intense when it's like a ball just rolling, or you know like things.
Oh my god, he hit the ball. Yeah, it's a baseball field. I hope he would. So we get a quick intro of the other kids. We meet the token black kid whose name is Tark. We meet the token fat friend whose name is Mac. And then we meet the brothers Sammy and Saul.
Saul's deaf, I think.
Right? Sammy's deaf. So Saul's the older brother, and Sammy is his deaf little brother. They call him Fingers. I'm like, you're gonna be popular in college.
I actually really liked that they threw him in there, only because you don't really see that many movies where they tie in like a deaf, like somebody, and he could have been playing as a deaf person, but
it was never a joke.
No, it was like it was really cool to have that incorporated in. Yeah. You know. And
even when he's introduced to other characters, they're like, this is Sammy. He's deaf, but he can read lips, so just look at him when you talk. Like, moving right along.
Like, there's nothing wrong with him.
Yeah, and he was a little asshole. It wasn't like, oh, I'm disabled, so I'm like the perfect child. He's a little asshole too. So I'm like, thank you for like not making him just like the token angel of the group.
He's like the squint.
Yeah, he's Sandlot, the squints of this one. Oh, because he had eye problems, and he has.
And he went to the kissing booth.
Yes, he did. He was asking for it. So basically, they're worried that the Little League team is going to try to take over the Sandlot and make it like a second practice field. They didn't really ever come back to the Little League kids.
No. It immediately switched over into making it about whether the girls are going to play softball in there or whether the boys are going to play baseball.
Yeah. And there was a very fine line of like, they're not playing baseball, they're playing softball. I'm like, chill.
Completely unrelated. Like, it's actually kind of similar in basically everything.
I played softball for a grand total of 1 season in 6th grade, and the day before tryouts, I knocked this tooth out.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, I played a different color.
Dang, I kind of got a story. Sandlot, the reason I chose this movie was because it was a childhood movie that I really liked, but I remember watching this movie when I was like, I think 10 or 11. My best friend lived 3 houses down, and we used to play catch all the time. But after I watched Sandlot, we were playing catch one time, and I looked at him and I was like, hey man, here comes the heater. And I went and launched it at him as hard as I could. And I threw it so fast, he wasn't ready for it. It just hit him right in the cheek. And I felt like such an asshole. No. I felt so bad. But it's a great memory. Yeah. And I'll always tie that to watching Sandlot.
Oh my God. Here comes the heater.
Oh yeah, you're ready for the heater.
Oh my God. So, Johnny comes to the Sandlot because he wants to launch a rocket, and he accidentally launches it into their little dugout, and he lights it on fire.
Right.
And so Haley lives like on a house that like the fence is shared with the Sandlot, so she comes over with her hose, and she's like, I guess you can put the Sandlot out. I guess you don't want the whole neighborhood to burn down. And all the other kids are convinced that Johnny tried to burn down the Sandlot on purpose because he's with those Little League kids. I'm like, why would the Little Leaguers...
And in their book, he's like the lame one.
Burn it down.
He's like, you don't play baseball.
He's
like,
a little nerd.
Cool. Right.
I could just see like the Smalls from the first movie being like, Johnny, you have to like baseball. You don't understand. And be like, no, I like rockets. Thanks, though.
Yeah, I'm a rebel.
So Haley's rule is, you know, I'll help you put out the Sandlot, but then you have to be my slave for the whole summer. So she's making him rake the yard and do all this stuff. And she meets her parents. And her mom is like the cartoon 1970s feminist. Like, he's like, hey, kiddo, how you doing? He's like, don't use pet names with our daughter. It's demeaning to her. And it says that she's not equal to a man. I'm like, oh, no. Oh no, please don't let this be her whole character. It was, but thankfully she was only in 2 scenes.
I paid like no attention to the mom, so I'm glad you're telling me this.
Yeah, she was kind of terrible. And then the dad is just like vibrating out of the skin with nerves the whole movie. I'm like, why are you so shaky? Like, is it supposed to be like, oh, he's got like a mean wife, so he's like a coward? I don't know. But he's played by Greg Cornyn. He's from Ally McBeal, if you watched that forever ago. But he works for NASA, so of course Johnny's like,
Yeah, goals. That's like his. He's obviously trying to go there to see what he's doing all the time.
Yeah. And so he sees the dad's workshop and it's full of rockets, and and Haley, not Heather, sorry. Haley is like, you gotta stay out of there. That's top secret. My dad works for NASA.
This guy had 6 locks on his door.
I know. It's intense.
Yeah. There was a rocket in. Like, is that
fully
even
functional rocket?
That really wouldn't be a thing.
No, they would not let you take that rocket home.
That was very like, let's Hollywood this out. Like,
yeah.
You know.
As having a dad who worked for Boeing, you did not get to bring any work home. Not a paperclip, not a Post-it. It's intense. So, my dad worked for Boeing post 9/11, and he had like a super high security clearance. And it was actually the summer I played softball, and we had dads from other teams that I played against walk up to my dad and go, so I was like filling my car up at the gas station, and a black SUV pulled up, and they got out of the car and they were like, "Do you know John?" And he was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Do you know what he does for a living?" He goes, "I know he works for Boeing." He goes, "But do you know what he does?" And he goes, "No." And they go, "Good," and would just leave. And we had so many family friends just like black SUVs pull up, ask questions about us, and leave.
That's interesting.
To like make sure that we weren't like spilling government secrets. Yeah. It was intense.
What did he do?
I don't know.
Oh, you didn't even know. It was
I don't know.
Just couldn't. He couldn't tell you.
He was working on military stuff.
Oh yeah. That makes sense.
It's insane.
Hey, that's when people are probably like, "Oh, you got a cool dad."
Yeah, very cool dad. But he's off that project now, so I can freely speak about it, even though I still don't know what it was.
The mystery continues.
So they're putting the Sandlot back together. Johnny and Haley. They're watering it. They're raking it, they're rebuilding the dugout, and the other guys get back and they're like, ew, they turned it into a dollhouse, it's all pink and girly, and they're playing softball. Ugh. They're losing their minds. And it's like every action that any of these kids make, there's like a cartoon sound effect noise played over it.
Well, plus, I mean, it's just the music that they were choosing too for a lot of this stuff.
Yes.
Like it was a lot of like rock, like classic rock music I was hearing, but it didn't go well with the energy or the vibe of the scene at all.
No, like they were like, well,
me off the whole time.
We got the rights to this 1970s song, so let's just play it. It's like, it didn't go though. And
you mentioned at the beginning when we first started talking about like this Sandlot 1 and Sandlot 2 were directed by the same director.
Yeah.
And produced by the same.
Yep.
That's surprising.
Yeah.
So he must have lost some magic.
And this guy ended up doing Sandlot 3, which, we'll talk about that in a minute. Because I just watched the trailer for it and was like...
Oh, really?
No. Absolutely not.
I'm not going to watch the third one.
There's time travel involved.
Yeah, I'm not going to watch it.
Yeah.
But...
It looks terrible.
I'll stop that too.
Pretend that there didn't happen. So Haley says that all the boys are male chauvinist pigs, and she's a liberated woman, and anything they can do, she can do better. I'm like, I love you. I love you, Haley. Kick ass. And they're like, get off our field. And she's like, no. And they're like, are you deaf? Sorry, fingers. That was rude. Anyway, I'm like, look at you being considerate. Aw. Like, it was kind of cute. So
they had a little standoff.
Yeah. And she's got her little girl posse there. And she says she'll bet them the Sandlot that she can outpitch Mac. Mm-hmm. And he's like, oh man, she's serious like Gloria Steinem. I'm like, first of all, what 12-year-old would know who Gloria Steinem was? Second of all, what is the comment?
Wait, who is Gloria Steinem?
Oh no, I'm gonna hit you.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
She's an incredibly famous feminist icon. She wrote I Was a Playboy Bunny. She did that undercover expose where she like worked at the Playboy Mansion for like a month, I think. She's Christian Bale's stepmother, fun fact. But no, she's like the feminist icon and she's amazing.
Got it.
But to say like she's serious like Gloria Steinem, it's like saying like, oh man, she's brave like Ted Cruz. Like it doesn't mean anything. Right. It just is like, we picked a name because it was a feminist and we said it.
Just throw it in there.
So she pitches like a motherfucking cannon.
Yeah, no, it was impressive. Definitely better than the guys were pitching.
Oh, better than the guys pitching.
But they weren't used to pitch. I mean, they can't pitch underhand, obviously.
No, and they were like, you can't pitch underhand. And she's like, there's nothing against it in the rules. I'm like, you're playing on a Sandlot. There's no rules against anything because your kid's playing in a Sandlot. Right. Like,
unless they had their house rules, but even then.
Yeah. And some people say, like, oh, pitching underhanded isn't that fast. I will say, there was a girl when I played softball, and she would walk a player every game because she would nail them. And you'd have a bruise the size of a basketball on your arm or your leg or your side for, like, weeks. She pitched like a cannon, and she was 13.
Damn. That doesn't sound fun getting hit by that.
No, I only played for one season for a reason. So David decides he's going to pitch hit for Mac. He's like, well, if you're going to pitch underhanded, we can swap players. And so she keeps pitching, and he keeps hitting foul balls and pitching and foul and pitching and foul.
I thought David was actually going to go in there and hit it. I was
like,
really disappointed when he didn't.
Yeah.
I was like, damn. I was like, I thought he was going to go in there and bang one out.
So they go literally until the sun goes down. And they're like, yeah, we'll carry this on tomorrow. And then we see this kid, like, sitting in a treehouse watching them play.
Oh, my God. I was so confused. When I saw that, I was like,
who is that?
I was just like, what are they thinking? What is
that? And I thought that was supposed to be, like, one of the little leaguers, like, aha, a rift in the Sandlot. Mm-hmm. He's not. We'll get to him later. He makes even less sense when we get to him. And so David is walking home, and he sees a dog, and just full, like, Vietnam vet, like, freezes, has PTSD.
And you know what they did again?
What?
They went and did that in slow motion.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no. There's a dog.
Yeah. And it was actually a really fluffy dog. Like, no one, it wasn't scary at all.
It was like being walked by a 6-year-old girl, and David just, like, freezes. I'm like, so David has issues with dogs? Is that what we're getting into?
Like, how are they going to tie? Is it they're going to tie this back to Goliath? No. Somehow that's how they did it.
Oh, you don't ruin it. Don't ruin it. Because literally when that line came, I wanted to hit my screen. So Johnny has cleaned up the field even more. And he's like, I wasn't sent by the Little League team. I don't know who the Little League team is. Mm-hmm. I don't even play baseball. Okay, it was like they wrote his lines with an accent in mind. And the kid couldn't do it. Because literally he goes, Sir, I don't know no Singleton, and I don't know nothing about no baseball. I'm like...
Yeah, it was weird.
So you heard that kid talk, and you weren't like... So maybe we should, like, change those lines. So he's like, no, I don't know baseball, and I don't know Singleton. But it was like, I don't know nothing about no baseball, good sir. I'm like, what is he doing?
They're like, we're making him sound, or at least his scripts were, like, more mature than what he could really do.
Yeah.
Right? Granted, he's like a geeky little, kid who does rockets.
And he refers to everyone by sir. Like, kids who are a year older than me. He's like, no, sir, I don't know what you mean. I'm like, I don't get what his character is supposed to be. Because, like, I guess, like, Smalls in the first movie was, like, a nerd. But he wasn't like an Urkel nerd. Where he's like, I don't know, sir. Like, he was just a normal kid who was a little bit nerdy. And then they're like, well, you're a boy, so go tell the girls to leave. And he's like, the guys want you to leave. And then the girls are like, well, you're Haley's friend, so tell them to leave. And they literally just make him run back and forth between the two of them.
For 20 million times.
Yeah. Like, it's a full...
They're really gonna... Okay.
It's a full minute on the screen. I'm like, this isn't funny.
Actually, the minute that portion is over, too, they transition into a new scene, and I forget what scene it goes into. But literally, this is what happens on the screen. You know how, like, PowerPoints, when you hit the effects, and it just does, like, it just slides to the left?
Yeah.
That's how they panel into the new scene. And I was just like, it was 2005. If this was made 2005, they already had, like, effects to do something better. I was just like, oh my God.
Oh, man.
What kind of a transition to this?
I was at a PowerPoint presentation today, and you won't believe it. Cross dissolve. Like,
yeah, we're teaching you guys how to really produce today.
Whoa. So they go back and forth, and finally Johnny goes, why don't you guys just play together? Duh. Because there are only 6 guys and there are only 3 girls, and you need 9 for a baseball team. And then they can beat the Little League team. Which never happens, by the way. They never play the Little League team.
Never played them at all. They just disappeared, huh?
No. So the other 2 girl players are Jenny and Penny, and it's not important who is who because they're completely identical to each other.
Yeah. And they only have a couple lines throughout the movie.
And pretty much Penny walks up to Mac to, like, shake on it. And he's like, man, Haley and David really hate each other. And she's like, no, they're in love. You're an idiot. They met yesterday. They have spoken maybe 3 words together. And her friend's like, no, they're in love.
She went and talked to her friends already. That next evening was like, okay, I like the guy.
Yeah. And he's like, wait, don't they hate each other? And she's like, same thing. I'm like, truth, girlfriend. Truth at that age. So they decide to start practicing together. They're sipping lemonade, eating cookies in the new dugout. They actually like the new dugout once they're inside it, and David's all mad. He's like, we're gonna get soft sitting in this girly dugout.
Well, they had food.
Yeah.
And drinks. So those are two good
chill.
perks, but it was pink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's awful. So then they go to the Little League field just to razz him, I'm guessing. And Singleton, who's the, proverbial rich kid, comes over, and they do the insult battle back and forth, which in the original movie, like,
way better.
Every line of it is perfect. Like, you lick your mama's toe jam. Like, oh my god, it's so good. And this one is like, your mom wears combat boots. I'm like, huh?
Well, I noticed not only in that scene, but in some others too, but especially during this time, they kept leaving so many gaps, like too long of gaps between the next line.
Yes.
So during this part too, when they were going back and forth, I was just like,
you need to edit like quicker between the.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then it's weird. Like, you could tell they had to like edit things down. Like, PG now is a little bit stricter because they're like, you run like a female dog. I'm like, you couldn't say bitch. Like, you couldn't let 13-year-olds say bitch. But it ends with the ever worst of the burns. You play ball like a girl.
Dun, dun, dun.
Which they said to a group of girls, and the girls are like, excuse? Throw down. Yeah, I'm gonna kick your ass.
It was disappointing. It was disappointing that whole exchange wasn't as as hype as it was in the original Sandlot.
In case you haven't heard the original Sandlot, which, oh my god, what are you doing with your life? Here is the original.
Ain't good enough to lick the dirt off our cleats. Watch it, jerk. Shut up, idiot. Moron. Scab eater. Butt sniffer. Puss licker. Fart smeller. You eat dog crap for breakfast, geek. You mix your weeds with your mama's toe jam. Yeah! You bob for apples in the toilet, and you like it. You play ball like a girl.
And here's the insult from the second.
Okay, speaking of sweeping up, you girls keeping our new practice diamond all clean and tidy for us? Watch your mouth, jerk! Yeah. Shut up, Porky. Lurch! Your mama wears combat boots.
Your mom is so ugly when you were born they slapped her.
Gomer Pyle! Hippie! Shut up, Porky! Yeah. You already said that, idiot! Yeah, well, you're still fat, moron! You're a fart-sniffing, road apple chewing, scab-licking female dog! Yeah. I ain't done yet! You're ugly, your mama dresses you funny, you stink like dough fungus, and you ride the short school bus! Yeah, but you play ball like a girl! Excuse me? What did you say? You heard me.
Doesn't even come close.
At all.
Doesn't come close. So after they go through this, heated insult battle, they're like, we need to go to the carnival to calm down. I'm like, just literally scene for scene copy from the original. So they go into the freak house, the freak show house to look at the Bigfoot stuff.
Oh yeah, where you have like the the funky mirrors that morph your body and they have different
the funhouse mirrors.
Yeah.
And David sees another dog and he has another panic attack, and we see he has this giant bite mark on his ankle. Yeah. And I'm like, so he got bit by a dog. Is that what we're telegraphing in this scene? Like, he got bit by a dog. Okay.
And that was like a very I don't know, like the way he overly played that, like how scared he was. But I thought it was actual like a fake Bigfoot that they had on display that scared him. Wasn't
that is. Yeah, they bring out a fake Bigfoot and he gets scared.
That's what scared him.
That's right, which makes even less sense. I don't know.
I guess I just can't imagine being that scared of like something kind of traumatizing you like that when you're younger. But
yeah, I guess. But it's like every time he does it, it's like a full like minute stop, like slow mo. You hear his heart pounding, like the screen doubles. It's a big deal. So then, to kind of echo the scene at the pool from the first movie, we see Fingers go down to the kissing booth, while the rest of them go on a tilt-a-whirl, and he's not tall enough, so he like puts on a giant pair of shoes and a top hat. And the girl's like, you seem kind of young, just on the cheek, okay? And he's like, okay, and he
pulls the squints,
lays one on her. and they're like yanking him off.
I was so happy for him.
And he steals her gum, which was so gross.
Wait, what? That happened?
Yeah, because she's chewing bubble gum. I'm like, ew, you're chewing gum working at a kissing booth. What's wrong with you? And when they finally get him off her, she goes, and he took my gum. And when he's riding away on his bike, he's blowing a bubble with her gum. I'm like, ew.
Oh, wow. I didn't even notice that part. Were kissing booths like a thing before?
They were.
Because I can't imagine like that ever happening now.
I can't see the appeal.
Like, think about how many people probably got herpes back then with that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I saw that and I was just like, wow, like that really had. I guess it was a normal thing to see at carnivals.
Yeah. No, I can't imagine a situation where I would A, work a kissing booth, B, like, aha, I see someone I would like to kiss, I will pay them $1. Like,
the struggle's real. I gotta do what I gotta do.
You got $1, man? I haven't been kissed in a while.
You probably have a lot of hobos like trying to collect change. Like that would suck if you were if you were a girl at a kissing booth and there was a bunch of hobos around and your boss is like, you can't say no. We gotta make money.
It's for the children. No. So then the next day, it's Little League versus the Sandlot. Haley strikes out Singleton like without trying.
Yeah, that was cake.
David is just hypnotized by her hair. She's got hair like down to her butt. She's got long freaking hair.
Right.
And she always just lets it down while she plays baseball. I keep saying basketball, I'm sorry. She keeps just letting it hang loose. I'm like, that would A, be so sweaty. And B, get in your way. Put your hair up, girl. Like, it was like this actress is like, I've got long hair and big eyes and I'm gonna use them.
We want her to showcase that.
This was her one and only movie.
Really?
The girl who played Haley. She did this and nothing else ever again.
Even now, she's not.
Nope, nothing. Her IMDb page is a single entry. Sandlot 2. I'm like, damn, like.
You can't even call her a one-hit wonder because it was on Sandlot 2.
Were you like the director's friend? Like, what was it? Like, I don't know, because she wasn't bad compared to the rest of the cast. She was equal with the rest of them.
Yeah.
And the rest of them had other acting stuff, but she was just that one thing.
I wouldn't have guessed.
No. So she hits a home run, or she almost hits a home run, because it goes and it hits this giant wall of junk, which is built up. Of
washers and dryers.
Yeah.
At least that's what I see when I look at the wall.
Yeah, so like they've built this giant like wall between, the house where the bees used to live,
Myrtle's
and the Sandlot.
Fence,
Mr. Myrtle.
and then the Sandlot. Yeah.
Yeah, and this wall is 20 feet tall.
Yeah.
So it hits the wall and like ricochets down, and she's just rounding the bases, and when Singleton sees she's about to round home, he hits her in the stomach.
Oh yeah, because he was pissed.
Because he's like, oh no, I'm gonna get beat by a girl.
Right.
And so David punches him in the face.
No, that kid deserved it for sure.
And it's like, David took his first steps into manhood. I'm like, okay, if you want to call it that.
I think Singleton and like the antagonist group of baseball players in Sandlot 2 compared to the antagonist other team of baseball players in Sandlot 1. Sandlot 1 did a lot better a job of like provoking and getting like all that tension built, right? Yeah,
you saw why the rivalry existed, and then like it was a build to, and now we're gonna play this great game. Like this was just like, I don't like you, game. Like that was it. But there's something about the narration where they're like, would David come to her rescue like a brave knight coming to marry his princess? I'm like,
there was too much narrating.
Why are you narrating this? Like, we saw what happened. Like, the girl got hit, he defended her. Great, we figured it out. Like, the narration in the first one told us stuff we didn't know.
Right.
And the one in the second one was just like, we're going to narrate what's happening very dramatically for no reason.
Like they want to give you like a pre-narration of what's literally about to happen in the next 30 seconds.
Yeah.
It's like, just let it happen. Just let it happen.
So Johnny says that day they set loose a force of nature
between the three of them, right? That's when they connected or something, right?
That David, Johnny, and Haley would be tied together forever by the forces of nature by an event that would occur on the 99th day of summer. And I'm like, building this up a lot. Like, I don't think it's going to be as great as you think it is. Unless something very unexpected is going to happen. So 1 week later, Mac gets an aluminum bat, and he does what no one has done before. He hits a ball over the junk wall. whoa, oh my God, no one's ever done that. Bang. And they're like, okay, let's just climb over the wall and we'll get the ball. And Smalls freaks the fuck out.
Yeah.
It's the first time you've ever seen him like have interest in a game.
He could have been more dramatic too.
Yeah, he like charges them down and like tackles him. He's like, "You can't go over the wall. Don't you know about the beast?" And they're like, "Huh?" And it's you guys have only lived here for 3 years.
They call it, I don't know if they called it they called it the Great Fear.
Oh, the Great Fear. That's right.
In Sandlot 2, but in Sandlot 1, I don't think they called it anything.
It's the beast.
It's the beast, right? So here they just call it the Great Fear.
The Great Fear, yeah. And so basically what he has them do is he's like, okay, here's this crack in the wall. Look through it, but be very quiet. And you just see like monster dog. And it's like, oh my God, it's the Great Fear.
I think one of the biggest things, though, that I would critique both movies for is I personally didn't like how they overplayed how big this dog was.
Well, I think it's just be like when you're a kid, that big dog from the neighborhood, it's like, it was the size of a bear, which is how big it feels when you're 8, you know?
Yeah, good point. It's different watching it now, but I can see when you're 13 or 14, you can kind of, you'd be like, okay,
that's how it feels a little bit. This is going to be an unpopular opinion, I was not the biggest fan of dogs when I was a kid because any dog I ever met bit me.
Oh, really?
I got bit all the time. And everyone's like, oh, were you like playing with them wrong? Were you like messing with them? Literally one time I was sitting on a lawn chair, not doing anything, and a dog bit me by the ear and pulled me off the lawn chair. Like,
damn.
Dogs just did not like me when I was a kid. So I was very dog shy. So I'm like, Sandlot, evil dog, I'm with you. I hate it. Like,
I got chased by a German Shepherd one time when I was like 10 or 11. My neighbors, I was walking to my best friend's house in the morning. My neighbors let their 2 German Shepherds out by accident. They came up to me. I thought they were nice, so I went to go pet him, and he snapped at me. So I ran across the street, ended up getting stuck between that German Shepherd that chased me and then 2 other dogs on the other side of the fence.
Oh, Jesus.
The only bad interaction I've had with dogs. But
I'm much better with dogs now. I'm still not like a dog person, but I don't like literally like run in fear when I see a dog.
Yeah.
So they decided to do a camp out in the Sandlot. And Johnny is like, Scotty, that's his name. I finally wrote it down. He's Scotty's little brother, and he's like, Hercules, the dog from the first movie, he died, but the Great Fear still reigns. So Hercules had puppies, but one was different. And like literally there's all these little brown puppies and just one black puppy. Yeah. I'm like, really? Okay, he's the Great Fear. And he tried to dig out of the junkyard, but he just got mean because he could never get out. And then a 6-year-old who was really fast. Who do we know who's really fast? Danny? Do we know anyone in this movie who they've mentioned is really fast?
David.
What?
Dun, dun, dun.
Do you think David could be the kid in the story? I think
so.
he might be.
I think so.
They kind of let it be a surprise.
Yeah. Well, even then, like the minute you see like that he's bit, like he's probably gonna be the one to go over.
I wish they had kind of let this be a mystery, but they're like, well, there's David who's fast, David who doesn't like dogs, who is fast, David who doesn't like dogs, who is fast, who got bit, who is fast, who doesn't like dogs. I'm like, yeah, I get it, thank you. What? He's the kid? I know. Like, let me be surprised by that. So the gate wasn't locked and the dog got out and he chased down the kid. Some say he got eaten, some say he got bit and he turned into a dog, you know, just all the childhood stories. But basically, they built this junk wall to keep the dog out, and they call him the Great Fear. And they're like, I don't believe you. You're just a kid. And he's like, oh, yeah? And then he just turns a flashlight on the junk wall, and the shadow happens to look like a skull. And all the kids are like, oh, and he's like, now do you believe me? No.
I think this is one part of the movie that I completely missed.
There's just a shadow on the wall. Why does that now confirm? What? Like, it made no sense. And they keep saying, and it's an insane mutated Bigfoot dog thing. They keep saying Bigfoot dog thing. So I guess that's why we were supposed to be scared of the Bigfoot. Because the dog is a Bigfoot.
Oh, from the carnival you're saying.
Yeah. I don't know. It seemed really confused, but it was like, no. This isn't just a big dog. It's a mutated dog. So be scared. Ha ha ha. Like, it's still a dog. I'm okay.
So that portion compares to Sandlot 1 when they're in the cabin and they tell the actual story
They have their s'mores.
Right. Yeah.
Forever.
They should have had some s'mores in this one though.
I know.
Because the s'mores in the first one, I was like, I want to go have a campfire.
Oh my god, right? The day I realized I could make s'mores on a stove was the worst day of my life. I'm like, oh no, I can just have these anytime. Yes.
Well, as easy as they are to make though, I never think like I'm at the grocery store like, oh yeah, marshmallows, I gotta get those. I'm loud. Like
no, my issue is like I'll buy like all the like s'more supplies for like a beach trip or something, and you never use them all, and then you're like, well, I just have 6 marshmallows in my cabinet. I can't let them sit there. And you come home from a hard day at work, you put your feet up, eat a s'more.
That is different.
I have done it before.
I've never met anybody who would come home and like snack on a s'more instead of like snacking on that. I don't know.
It takes dedication and a sweet tooth. So the next big thing that happens in the movie is it's 4th of July and they're gonna buy all these fireworks. And he's gonna turn night into day. Did you see that episode of Malcolm in the Middle? Where they buy that they're like in Texas for some reason and they're like, we're gonna buy this insane firework, and they set it off and literally it goes from night to day. When they
like
set
the
it
scene
off.
It really does.
Yeah, and then it flashes back and they're like, that was amazing. Yeah. I can't see anything. Me either. And like none of the boys can like see for 3 days. So they decide it's too hot to play baseball, so they're just gonna, hop in Haley's pool. Mm-hmm. Except for David, because he has that big bite mark on his foot, and he has to wear his tall socks, and no one will see.
Oh, that's why he didn't get into the pool?
Yeah, because you see him, he like tugs on his sock, and he's like, swimming is stupid.
What a weenie.
Goodbye.
He should have just got in the pool.
And Haley gets very sad, because she is very clearly in love with him.
Oh yeah, she was not enjoying herself, because her man was gone.
Yeah, but then Johnny's like, but me, David, and Haley, we were connected. I'm like, you keep saying that, and I keep not seeing why.
Yeah.
You keep just saying it. And
were they in the pool the same on 4th of July?
Yeah.
Okay. I liked the 4th of July scene a lot better than the first one.
Yeah.
It was a lot more epic.
It's very cute. Oh, because when all the kids play baseball by fireworks in the first one, and like Benny's trying to actually play, and the other kids are like, no, baseball! Like, and he's like,
oh, and in the first one, they have the slow motion baseball scene.
Yeah.
And the fireworks going at the same time. So
yeah.
It really is just like...
They're like, it was the one night game of the summer. Yeah. It was like, aw. But this one was just like all the kids were just having fun.
Yeah. Although, I think during this part is when I think one of the best songs that I heard them include on this movie was... How's it go? Like, the Spirit... Is it called Spirit in the Sky?
It's Spirit in the Sky. Spirit in the Sky.
Yeah, that one's dope.
But Haley's mom sees her moping. And she's like, I wanted David to come over, and he didn't come over. And she's like, a woman needs a man like a fish needs a bicycle, which I think is a Gloria Steinem quote. And she's like, thanks, Mom. I'm 12. I just feel devastated. Thanks. So Johnny sees the giant rocket in Haley's dad's garage. And he's like, oh, man, that sweet, sweet rocket. I want it. And he's like, oh, if you want, we're going to do a test flight on Sunday. You can come. You can help me set it off. And he's like, yeah, so excited, super excited. And he sets off his fireworks that night. He's super excited. He's like, I get to set up a rocket tomorrow. So he comes to launch the rocket, but the dad has already left to go to the airport. Right. So he sees literally a 10-foot rocket.
Oh, he did not hesitate. He didn't even think twice.
He's like, sir, guess it's my rocket. Like, and just hauls out this 10-foot rocket to the center of the Sandlot. He wires it up. He he just knows how to set up this rocket. And he's waiting with the controller in hand for the dad to get back. But he falls asleep and he sets off the rocket.
Yeah, why didn't he wait, right? Like, he could have just waited, but he was so handsome.
No, he was like, I need to set this thing up. It's such bad CGI when the rocket goes off.
Oh, yeah. And I wanted to be pissed about it, but I was like, you know what? It's 2005. I don't know if it was like...
And the budget for this movie was non-existent.
It was lower than the first one?
Well, it wasn't lower, but, I think it was the same, trying to do more things.
Yeah.
So literally they launched this rocket into orbit.
Oh, yeah, I know.
It literally goes into orbit.
Actually, this part was probably one of the parts where, like, it really, like, got the biggest reaction out of me when I see Johnny, like, falling asleep, kind of, like, laying back. And then all of a sudden, you see the remote sliding down, and it just falls down and lands on and it shoots it off. I was like, oh my god, you're so fucked.
Oh,
you're so fucked.
So the rocket... yeah.
Can we cuss on this?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Fuck yeah.
All right, cool. I figured. I think you actually cussed earlier. I just wasn't sure.
Yeah. No. This is an R-rated podcast, motherfuckers. So Johnny freaks the fuck out. He's losing his mind. And they're like, come on, Haley's dad's going to be on TV. And he's like, oh, yes, this project I'm putting together is going to set us ahead of the Russians by 10 years.
Oh,
it's
my
the
God.
highest advance.
His heart is sinking.
Johnny's just like, I'm going to die. I'm going to die. The rocket comes crashing back to Earth. First of all, you're lucky it came back in the United States.
Right.
You're lucky it came down in the same state. But it, of course, comes down on the other side of the junk wall into the realm of the Great Fear.
Basically, that was Elon Musk's rocket back then. You know,
Yeah.
it could just land where it takes off.
Just up and down. Just relandable rocket. Oh, not a scratch on it. It's just
No, not at all.
ready to go.
When I saw the light though, like the light flashing while it's in orbit, I was like, wait, so now aliens are on it and people are actually flying it or what? Like,
yeah.
I was like, when did that? I don't
And
know.
also,
it was corny. It was
There's
definitely
no
corny.
way that if this rocket took off, went into orbit, and came back down, if Johnny just like put it back in the garage, it's like, oh no, the dad will never know it was already launched.
Right.
You morons.
Cool thing about that part though is that everybody growing up has that moment when they fucked up and did something. They're like, I'm in so much fucking trouble and I can't. You go and try and like put back whatever you broke or something like that.
So mine was, me and my friend were passing notes in class, and I wrote something very mean about another student. And my teacher was like, take this note home, your mom has to sign it, and then bring it back. I, being the genius that I was, I'm like, I'm going to erase the mean thing I wrote and write a less mean thing. And so my mom was like, you're grounded for like a week. And I was like, okay, fair enough. But being the little ADD brain that I was, I didn't change the note back.
Oh, you did it?
When I turned it into the teacher. And then I got grounded for a whole summer.
Damn, a whole summer? I never got grounded growing up.
Yeah.
I got my phone taken away once. That was it.
I got grounded a lot. There was one time that, like, my mom told me, like, later when I was, you know, an adult and it was funny. And I wasn't allowed to see the Sex and the City movie because I was only, like, 14 or something. But, of course, I went and saw it.
But now, like, 11-year-olds are watching shit like that on TV.
Oh, my God, I know.
Fucking ridiculous.
I know. And so I went and saw it. And I told my mom I went to see another movie. And so she pulled up to the movie theater to pick me up. And she called me. She said, where are you? I said, the movie isn't finished yet. She goes, the movie you said you went and saw already finished. You're at Sex and the City, aren't you? And I was like, yes. And she goes, we were trying so hard not to laugh because my dad was in the car too. But you just got in the car and without speaking, just handed over your iPhone and your iPod and just like didn't speak. And you're like, so a week? And they were like, damn, she grounded herself. Like,
yeah.
We were
You said it.
They're like, you like punished yourself that day. I think it was the last time we ever had to ground you because you were like, I got it. I know. I get how this works. So the kids are going to have to get the rocket back. This is going to be the great, you know, mission of the movie. So Mac is in full like ghillie suit. Like I can tell this kid has a dad in the military.
Oh, I was going to ask, how did you like Mac compared to
Ham?
Is it Ham in the original
Hammy,
one?
yeah.
Yeah, I liked Ham better.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like Ham was like, he was the one who had the whole insult battle. He was like a little sass bucket and like, he was funny and he was kind of nice. But this kid was just like, I'm fat and also kind of a military kid for no reason. Yeah. No, I don't think there's any kid one-to-one that I liked their sequel counterpart over their original.
No, I can't really. I think the whole cast overall in the first one was just a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, it's very rare that a sequel is going to be as good as an original unless it was planned.
Yeah.
And even then, you know, there's the rare exceptions like Toy Story 2, but...
Oh, you know what? I don't even think I've seen... There's like 3... Is there 3 Toy Stories now? I know. I think I've only seen the first 2. I know this. It's a big deal, but...
Your homework is to go home and watch Toy Story 1, 2, and 3.
Watch that one.
You know who wrote the first Toy Story movie? Joss Whedon. What? Who wrote the Avengers movies? Oh, okay, never mind.
Sorry, Chelsea.
I forget that not everyone's...
But that's why here I'm learning as I'm talking to you about this too.
You are. This is all of my friends, by the way, we talk like this. So they're like, well, wait, why can't we just go to Mr. Merle and ask for the ball? And they're like, no, because he's a mean old man. I'm like, this is what happened last time. And then he's like, why didn't you just ask me? Guess what, guys? Could have just asked him again. So they send in a little robot gadget to get the ball back, but it gets utterly destroyed. And they're playing angry bull noises for a dog.
I actually literally wrote that down because I was like, was that a bull or a cow?
Yeah.
Like, what the hell?
But it's like, I'm like, that's not how a dog sounds.
Their attempts were definitely not as cool as Sandlot.
Oh, no.
Sandlot 2.
No.
Or the original Sandlot.
Penny and Jenny send their cat in.
I wrote that down too only because I was like, what the hell is wrong with these girls? Like, they're wicked. They were trying to sacrifice a cat.
Yeah, they're like, but his claws only come out when he's scared. They're like, exactly. His claws will come out and he'll lift the rocket up. I'm like, oh, you know how a cat can lift a 10-foot rocket? What?
Those girls are fucked up.
What the fuck? And so, of course, the cat gets attacked and it comes back up.
Naked cat.
A naked cat. It explodes into feathers. It doesn't even explode into fur. Like, you just hear like, and there's white feathers everywhere.
Do you like naked cats?
They're actually really sweet. My friend has one and they're very cute.
My initial thought of them for a long time was like, they're ugly as fuck. And then like now, little by little, I'm like, you know what? They actually look pretty cool.
They are. And they're actually soft. Like, they feel more like velvet or suede. They don't feel
I never petted one,
naked.
So.
Okay, so then this mystery blonde kid who's been like popping up in and out the whole movie.
Oh yeah, the weirdo.
It's just like, and he's got a whole necklace full of dog tags. And he's like, I'm the retriever. I had a frisbee when I was a kid and a dog broke it. So I took that dog's tag and I took my frisbee back. And now I get things back from dogs and I take the dog tags from them because I'm the retriever. The great fear is my ultimate challenge. Like, he has this monologue and he's like, the great fear is my ultimate challenge.
Corny.
And he's like, okay, I'm going to go behind this fence and no matter what I say, don't let me out. Yeah. And they shut it and he goes, let me out. And they open it and he's like, what did I say? And then they do it again and you hear him genuinely getting attacked. But this is his exact fear. Get me out.
There
Guys,
was no emotion
I mean
at all behind it.
Get me out. I'm like, dude, what the hell?
Like, he could have sounded way more scared.
Are you ready? That's the director's son.
Is it?
Yep.
So I'm assuming that kid doesn't really act on the regular.
No.
He probably just got in because he was son.
So he just made his kid this like, I am the retriever. I'm this kid in a cool leather jacket. Man. Like, no, there's no reason for this kid to be in the movie.
Yeah, that's why he was awkward too. Because
he had like a little bit of a lisp.
Did he?
It was like, I couldn't quite tell what it was, but there was something going on with his mouth where like his words came out funky. And I'm like, why would you cast this kid? He sounds weird. Like, and I think he had some kind of a lisp or a speech impediment or something. I'm like, and director's son. There we go. Yeah. And he gets thrown over the fence by the dog, like 10 feet in the air, into the pool. And he's like, the retriever has retired. I can't do it.
You're out of luck.
And so then, this is one of the funnier lines in the sequel, and it's like, Mac had an epiphany, which was such
wrote that down.
Read it. You read it.
And then Mac had an epiphany, and he was like on the bike too. He was on his bike,
which was such a girly word. He didn't like to have a lot of them. Epiphany is a girly word. A 12-year-old boy, yes. So he's basically like, we've been trying to go over the dog. We gotta go under the dog. And it's because they drive past a poster for The Great Escape, which is this great 1970s movies where these guys dig out of a prison. Mm-hmm. So it's like, aha, I'll Great Escape this. I'll dig out from under.
It was funny too because when they're actually doing the digging, he attaches a skateboard to his belly, and I was like, dude, why are you using your skateboard? Like, you can literally crawl through that right now. Like, yep. I don't know. It just didn't make sense to me, but
no, it was just for like the like cool like effect.
Just like the extra like making their ideas a little bit more like creative,
fanciful. Yeah. So then he's in the tunnel. He's like digging up, trying to get the rocket, and the pool starts like shaking like Jurassic Park style when the T-Rex is walking. She's like, dum.
And oh my god, who's the deaf kid?
Fingers.
And Fingers is the one who notices it, but it was interesting.
He feels the vibrations.
It's so interesting because deaf people have big, when you lose one of your senses, your other senses get even more heightened. So it was really cool that I was actually wondering, I was like, did they do that on purpose? Like make him be the one to sense them first because the vibrations, and that was really interesting.
It was cool. And so then he's got his aluminum bat down there with him, and so the Great Fear starts attacking him. He's trying to beat him off with a bat. This bat just gets turned into a ball of like shrapnel.
Yeah, twisted metal.
And he's like, I crap my pants and I'm out of here. And he turns around and there's just this giant wet stain on his pants. I'm like, why? Why did he have to shit his pants? It's so unnecessary.
That's so embarrassing if that were to happen to you when you're little. You shit your pants. Like, what the hell?
So dumb. So David like shows up and then just leaves without saying anything. And then Johnny and Haley are talking and they're like, well, you know David likes you. And she's like, no? Who told you that? Does he? Really? I like him too. I didn't say that, like, just the 12-year-old thing you do.
Middle school stuff.
So David goes to the store and he gets Nikes. I'm like, PF Flyers forever. I went like got my Sarah pair.
This was probably just a promotional thing.
Yeah, it was entirely a promotional thing. And they're ugly shoes.
Yeah, I didn't
They're ugly shoes.
The PF Flyers were almost like Converse.
Yeah.
Right? They were kind of like Chucks.
So he takes off this pair of gorgeous all black PF Flyers and puts on these ugly ass all white Nikes. I'm like, ew.
Yeah. Although during this part, you know, my favorite line of the movie was when they're. Did you know that Nike was inspired by like was tied to the Greeks, like the name? Mm-hmm. So I had no idea. Oh. I just thought like Nike was just like made up.
Yeah, Nike is a goddess.
But she like inspired a bunch of these great warriors to like fight for her and everything. I don't know. That was really cool.
So one thing we forgot to mention. So the kid who got attacked by the Great Fear loved some superhero who wore a red cape. Anyway, so we see him pull this childhood cape out of like his like toy chest and like tuck it in his back pocket. It's like, oh, he was the kid? Yeah, he was the kid. Yeah. And so Haley's like, you're the kid from the story. And he's like, I am. And she goes, David, just do it. I was like, no. You don't get to throw in a Nike tagline.
That's like on a 10-10 corny scale right there.
Oh
like,
my God, it was so bad. It didn't even make sense.
That whole scene, like the way Benny made it, where he's like, no, Smalls, I got to do this. Like it was just way more like intense. And the way he went about it, he's just like, yeah, I got to go. I don't know, it was just...
I've got to do this.
There's just so many times during this movie that I was just like, oh my God, it's so corny. It's so corny.
So he hops the fence and he jumps down there and he sees the dog is a dog. Mm-hmm. It's just a dog. It's always been a dog. It was always going to be a dog. And so he pulls out his cape and he like waves it like a bullfighter and the dog makes more bull noises. I'm like, is this why the dog made bull noises? And he drops the cape over the dog. He goes charging for the rocket. He hooks the cable on the rocket. And then he's like, go, go, go. He jumps back over the fence. And the dog comes over the fence too.
Oh, that's familiar.
And then they start playing Taking Care of Business.
Is that what it was playing?
It's taking care of business every day. Okay, and this is such a dumb, weird line. But in the original, when Benny is running with the dog, the kid is like, ooh, look at doggy. And then like the dog like knocks over the side and he goes, ooh, a big doggy. And it makes me laugh. So in this one, this kid goes, ooh, look at doggy. Oh, that's a horsey. And I was like,
oh, yeah.
Thank you for giving me that little kid.
Knock over a bunch of people still.
So they're running through town. They're making all this trouble. He rides to the junkyard. He jumps on his bike. He goes off a ramp. It's just all this shit. The dog keeps chasing him. He runs back to the Sandlot, and they knock down the whole junk wall, just like the original. But David falls in the hole that they initially dug, and he gets buried. Which I'm like, oh, this is dark. And they're like, oh man, he's gonna die. He's gonna, he can't breathe. And the dog digs him out.
Saves him out.
Because the dog only wanted to do was dig. Oh.
I can't believe I really like that Mr. Myrtle is still living there.
Yep. I was like, James Earl Jones. I can't believe James Earl Jones is still alive sometimes. It makes me happy. Oh, so David, who had this great fear of dogs, finds out the name of the dog is Goliath. And in case you missed the story, you missed the story, Mac leans over and goes, David and Goliath like the story. I'm like, thank you, Ham. Thank you, Mac.
How much more cheesy do you want to get?
Like, in case they didn't get it, like...
They get it now. Dude, life kill me.
I just wrote in like inch-high letters in my notes. Kill me. So Mr. Merle is still at the house.
There. Although he was not as excited to see David and Johnny as he was when he saw Benny and Scotty.
Yeah. Because he's like, no one could play baseball like those kids. I'm like, true. That's the one thing that I do like is they're like, no. The original Sandlot kids played motherfucking baseball. These kids play.
They can't hang.
No. So he's like, oh, I hated it. They told me all these crazy stories about me and missing dogs, eating kids, and...
You could have just knocked on my door.
And they're all like, damn it. I'm like, always just knock on the door. Always. Just knock on the door.
I don't think kids in middle school know that, though.
No.
They're afraid.
Nope. And so he says he'll clean up the junk wall if they walk the dog twice a week and he can listen to them play baseball. And I'm like, aw. And he's like, and no more fence. So these kids won't make up all these crazy stories about me. I'm like, this man was like trying to kill a third sequel before it happened and it didn't work.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so you said you saw the trailer, right? So in the trailer, or for the third one, is there a fence still?
So in the trailer, here's what happens. So it's like an adult, like Major League Baseball player, and he's an asshole.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, do you know who I am? I'm blah, blah, blah. I'm the greatest baseball player in the world. And he gets hit in the head with a pitch. And it's like, sometimes to figure out where you're going, you got to remember where you started. And the kid wakes up in the 1960s in his teenage body the summer he played at the Sandlot.
What the heck?
Yeah. So it's a time travel movie that technically takes place between the first and second movie.
Interesting.
And that's all I watched. I'm like, no. This is stupid. But apparently from now on, from 1979 or 1972 on, the kids and the dog and the junk man will live in harmony. They'll all just play.
Right.
So Haley and David kiss, and then they hold hands. Her dad never finds out about the rocket launch, and it turns out the project he was talking about was the blueprints, not the model. Duh.
Okay, there we go.
Ha ha ha. Goliath had 5 puppies, and Mr. Merle kept 3 of them, and Penny and Jenny each took 1. And
do they do like a, you know how
everyone
fades out and they tell their stories of where everyone went?
They do, and it pissed me off because it was like Mac joined the army, got a Purple Heart, and then joined the Peace Corps. Sally and Fingers created a record label called Def Jam.
True story?
No, it was not created by 2 white kids in the suburbs. And then it's the most fuck you line in the world. It's like, Penny and Jenny never did anything more remarkable than the most difficult thing on earth. They raised 3 kids and lived happily ever after. I'm like, go fuck yourself,
Everybody
movie. What kind of line is that? Fingers invented a line of bubblegum called Kissing Booth Bubblegum.
Makes sense.
Tark was abducted by aliens. Yeah. And Haley became a supermodel and a pitcher for the Olympic softball team, and she won 2 gold medals. Haley and David dated through high school, and then they broke up. And then after college, they met again, and Haley proposed to him.
No way, really?
Yeah. Did you not watch the end of the movie?
I did. I just missed that part.
Yeah, it was like, well, David couldn't talk the first time he talked to Haley. He was like, and she's like, you're supposed to say hi, dummy. So when they met up again after college, he was like, She goes, you're supposed to say, will you marry me, dummy? So she essentially proposed to herself.
Oh, wow.
Johnny worked at Jet Propulsion Labs. He got to work with rockets for the rest of his life. Oh, so when David switches from the PF Flyers to the Nikes, he throws his gorgeous black Nikes over a telephone wire, and they're black.
Hanging there.
And he's like, the PF Flyers hung for a long time, and you see them like crossfade into perfectly white bleach sneakers. I'm like, that's not how it works. they wouldn't bleach perfectly white. And he's like, they hung there for a long time until someone found them. But that's another story. I'm like, you were real confident you were going to get Sandlot 3, weren't you? Which happened 2 years later, to be fair.
Probably.
And that's the end of the movie.
I mean, overall, I think the way I would describe Sandlot 1 over Sandlot 2 is Sandlot 1 to me was just graceful.
It was.
Just graceful overall. Like, the acting, the music.
The story flowed.
It's such a classic movie, you know? Mm-hmm. So it's always tough to follow those up with sequels and not disappoint.
Yeah. So do you have your quotes from the original that are your favorites and your quotes from the sequel?
Oh, you know what? Yeah. I'll get them for you right now, actually.
So, okay, in watching the first movie, Benny is literally the best.
Yeah.
He's the sweetest kid. He's like, hey, I see you, lonely kid. Come play baseball with us.
He like leads the pack.
You need a glove? Here's a glove. You need some pointer? Here's a pointer. You want an easy catch? Here you go. Don't wear those clothes. You look like a dork. You want a new hat? Here's a new... I'm like, you're a good kid, Benny. Okay, so from the original, he's an L7 weenie.
Benny man, the kid is a L7 weenie. Yeah, Oscar Mayer even. Foot long, Dodger dog, a weenie.
You're killing me, Smalls.
That one was good.
The whole s'more scene.
S'more what? No, you want a s'more. I haven't had anything yet, so how can I have some more of nothing? Shut up! You're killing me, Smalls. All right, who cut one? These are s'more stuff. Okay, pay attention. First, you take the graham. You stick the chocolate on the graham. Then, you roast the mallow. No, it's my sleeping bag. That's mine. When the mallow's flaming, it is yours. It has a yellow stain. You stick it on the chocolate. Then, you cover it with the other end. Yeah, make me one of those. Yeah, me too. Then, you scupper. I don't like...
The whole s'more scene was good as well.
Yeah.
I really liked when Benny has a dream and Babe Ruth says...
Remember, kid, there's heroes and there's legends. Heroes get remembered, but legends never die. Follow your heart, kid. You never go wrong.
Never die.
Which is a line in a Panic at the Disco song now.
No way.
Yeah, if it gets Death of a Bachelor, and it's like, you know heroes get remembered, but I know legends never die. I'm like, what is that from? That's like, oh, that's from The Sandlot. Damn. And then my quote from the sequel would have to be, Mac had an epiphany.
The great fear was, we thought, clearly aided by some evil force from beyond. In other words, we were out of ideas, and I was dead meat. Until Mac had an epiphany, which, since it was such a girly word, he didn't have many of. But this time, it was really important.
And then, probably just the whole monologue that the mom gives about being a feminist to her 11-year-old daughter. Just...
I thought he'd like me. What's the matter with me?
Oh, Tiger, there was absolutely nothing wrong with you. You were perfect. You just remember this. A woman needs a man like a fish needs a bicycle.
Oh, great. Thanks, Mom.
Anytime, big guy.
Mine, I brought it up earlier, but I gotta this to me because I didn't think to research what Nike, like how the name originated. But Nike was the winged goddess of victory in Greek mythology. She sat at the side of Zeus, the ruler of Olympus. She inspired the most courageous and chivalrous warriors at the dawn of civilization.
Yay!
That's pretty badass.
Yep. You know what would have like made this movie like? I mean, it wouldn't have fixed it, but it would have been great. Is if Haley was the one to go over the fence.
Since she proposed today to
yeah, like she puts on the
I
Nike
guess
sneakers because Nike's a great goddess.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
she's just like, "Fuck you, I'll get it." But he had to have his whole catharsis with the dog.
Just do it.
So I forgot to do this last episode, and I'm not going to forget it this time. It's the stupid sequels drinking game.
What is it?
Well, you get a bottle of vodka. No, I'm not.
Oh, okay. I was like, I had a very long weekend already.
Fear in your eyes.
I was like, I mean, the peer pressure is going to be there.
So we're going to create a drinking game for when you're watching this movie, and we'll go back and forth with rules. So, for instance, every time they play a cartoon sound effect noise,
drink. Oh, I see what you're saying. Every time there's a corny transition into a new scene, drink.
Every time a scene is a carbon copy of one from the original, drink.
Ooh, hold up. Let me think. You go again. I want to think.
Okay. Every time the music doesn't fit the scene, but it's just a good 70s song.
You're drinking at least six times there. At least 6 times there. Anytime. Oh, let's just do really easy. Every time they fail at getting the shit back.
That's a good 4 shots right there.
Boom. I'm just trying to help you guys get drunk now.
And of course, our final rule: drink every time you want to turn the movie off, and then do, because you don't have to watch this movie. All right, Danny, where can people find you online?
You guys can follow me at Snacks for Danny. That's basically it. That's my Instagram and my Twitter if you want to follow my tweets.
All right, this episode was 3 months in the making.
Yeah, I know.
6 attempts.
Finally made it here, so I'm glad.
Finally did it. Thank you for making it. And to all of my followers, I have something so big in the works. You guys are gonna lose your mind. I cannot share details right now because it's still early stages. But oh my God, when this happens, oh my God, guys, you're going to lose it. Some other news, we're going to start repeating some guests from our first year. Some people who are eager to come back. Rebecca, Jessica, Francis, all will be coming back. Alex is coming back. And so follow us online everywhere and follow me online. And until next month, bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much for listening to the Stupid Sequels podcast. Please subscribe and review so everyone can find us on iTunes. You can find us on Twitter at StupidSequels2 or email us at stupidsequelspodcast@gmail.com. Every episode is made possible by our sound engineer, Francis Gacod. Our logo was designed by Nicole Wiseman at Wise Shots, and you can find me online at Callie Blair on Twitter and pretty much everywhere else. And remember, even though these movies are stupid, deep down, we really love them.